Welcome to the Silicon Valley of Portugal. We are in Faro, the capital of the Algarve province in the south of Portugal. We will visit the University of the Algarve, a technology campus and incubator for innovative companies from all over the world. I will explain the Global Talent Program, which allows talents and entrepreneurs to move to Portugal, grow their businesses, and enjoy a high quality of life in the Algarve. My guide is Hugo Barras, Executive Coordinator in the Division of Entrepreneurship and Technology Transfer. I ask him about the structure of Tech Campus, which companies are already based here, and most importantly, how they can help you move to Portugal if you are a talented, high-qualified entrepreneur, innovator, or investor.
We are inside the University of Algarve. It's a public university in the south of Portugal. We have almost all the normal courses that exist in a public university, and we have a very singular situation where we have a university and a polytechnical school. So we aggregate both those subsectors, which is interesting because it allows us to work in a much broader scope of research, innovation, knowledge transfer. We represent what's called the Division for Entrepreneurship and Knowledge Transfer, and we are what's called the third mission of the university. So we aim to be a complementarity to research and to training. This campus where we are is a campus in Peña, so it's where the polytechnical part of the university is located. This is where we have an accelerator called UALG Tec Campus, which is our accelerator focused and verticalized on ICT, information technology, communications, and electronics. We have a strategy inside the university where in the scope of this third mission, we have an incubator, and the incubator we work in a transversal way. So we support entrepreneurs in all areas of knowledge towards the development of their companies, and that first step of the company where mistakes are being done, where we are seeing the market is there. So the incubator is for that exactly. What we have there then is a strategy for acceleration, and we try to work in a verticalized area by each area. So we have, as mentioned here in the campus in Peña, we have the UALG Tec Campus for technology companies. We have a clinical simulation center, which is a knowledge transfer and validation center verticalized in health and medicine. It's in the university campus in Cambelos. It's inside the Faculty of Medicine. And we have also an association partly joined by a private company working where we are building to develop competences in mobility, new fuels, new energies towards this next trend that is relevant. And we are also working in a fourth vertical, which is just starting, which we call Mediterranean Diet, where the goal is to work agro-tech, heritage, traditions, all related with the agro of the Algarve region. So that's a little bit our scope, and the goal with this basically is to not only being able to value knowledge and create more and more innovative companies from here to the world that are growing and that are competitive, but also to be able to attract and retain talent and investment in the region.
How many companies are already based here or in the process of relocating to the Algarve?
In the accelerator, we have around 22 companies right now. We have 2 spaces which were made available because that's the way of the incubators and the accelerators, is to promote this connection with the universities, with the research centers, and we have to make sure that it's not permanent, so that we continue this strategy and this connection, but we have all companies moving. So we have 2 spaces that are being free, and we open a call, are now being attributed, but we have always in the accelerator, due to our capacity, from 20 to 25 companies. We have virtual incubation, physical incubation, and co-working space. So we are limited by our capacity. We have around 20 to 25 companies always at each given moment. In the incubator, because it's a little bit different, we have around 60 companies incubator right now. And that's what we want, because in the end what we want is to have a mix of companies from several areas, from several stages of development that we can intermediate in order to get networks among them. One can help the other, one can piggyback on the connections of the other. They can have cross-selling of products and of services. The idea of working, as we were talking, in vertical areas of acceleration allows us to be very focused in the work that we do for those companies, but it also allows us to develop strategies to connect them between sectors. So the idea in the end is to see how we can get the tech companies to connect with the clinical simulation center to develop clinical and medical devices and medical technologies.
What advantages does Portugal have for global talents? How do you attract global talents and keep them staying in Portugal?
We are a relatively small region. We have, I would say, about 450,000 residents all year round, but as a touristic region, we have about 5 million during the summer. And so we have this challenge of mobility and management of the people that we do have. Traditionally, I would say that we saw a problem which was to retain talent. So making sure that the people that we managed to train in the region and the companies that we managed to get here, how do we to get them here and not losing them to big capitals like Madrid, like London, like Berlin and others. Good security, quality of life, good food, good connectivity, everybody speaks English, good schools. So this are our actives to connect with international partners, to attract investors that want to develop their technologies, their companies, their businesses here. And the way that we are doing is that we as a university have connected with the ecosystem in the region, so with private associations, private companies, public sector, and we developed a trademark that it's called Algarve Tech Hub, which is the trademark for our lifestyle tech hub, to be able to go to the world and say, here, come to the Algarve. We have all these assets that can be actual for you. We have an international airport where you can be everywhere in the world with one connection or two. We have all the assets that I just said, like security and everything. We have a university that can create knowledge for you, transfer knowledge for you, train people. We have a region that is interconnected so that if you need networks, connect with other people, with other companies, we can help you there. So in the end, that's our goal. What we want is to be able to show to every entrepreneur that we can be an added value for them to come here. We can support them in what we call the soft landing process. So we can help them finding space, licensing, money, connection, networking. Our goal is to connect with other partners like us in the world that can help us move along with this strategy, so that can help us attract and retain talent in the region, always aligned, of course, with what we call the smart specialization. So in areas related with the region where we can be an added value for the companies and where the companies can be an added value for us.
You mentioned major business centers, Madrid, London and Berlin. What advantages does the Algarve in Portugal have for global talents compared to the big cities? How easy is it for them to move here and get settled?
It's never easy, but it's a strategy that we have to work with. And a couple of things that I can mention that were in our strategy, which we think that it's the right way to go, is that one, understanding our assets and what we do have that can be competitive and singular and different from what everyone else. We have, for example, quality of life, tourism, infrastructure, so those things already exist. That's why we are a very well-known touristic hub. So the goal is that why not take advantage of this, and instead of getting you here for 3 weeks in the summer, why not doing your life here? So you have all of the conditions to do that. Also, we try to intermediate with all the regional partners to identify a strategy and to create a strategy aggregated with all the main stakeholders in order to make this happen. So not as a one-time thing. So we contracted and we worked with some of the main companies in Europe that have helped the development of hubs in London, in Spain, in Denmark, to help identify our strategy. So it's interesting sometimes to have someone from the outside to criticize in a constructive way and to help us validate what we have as a strategy. We did that. And we also did something that I think it's quite relevant. There was an agreement between 36 entities, private and public, of the Algarve, where we have a common strategy signed by 36 entities. This is quite relevant because that means that it's not the university strategy, it's not the private association strategy, it's not the tourism association strategy, it's a common strategy validated and recognized by the main stakeholders in the region. So this means that when we come to any company anywhere in the world, we can come and say, whatever you need in these areas, talking with me is the same thing of talking with the university. is like talking with the tourism bureau, is like talking with the innovation bureau, because there's an alignment of strategy. So there's no discrepancies between areas. I think this is quite important, to have a one face and one strategy towards all of this. So that means that whenever we go to Madrid or to other areas, we need to be very clear and very, I would say, direct in understanding what are our flaws, but also what are our strategies and our added points, our added values. And the point is that connecting with those areas, we are very competitive in terms of cost. Quality of life is really good in Portugal, but especially in the Algarve. Almost everyone speaks English since it's a tourism region. So there's a good infrastructure area. There's a connection and a trust between the main stakeholders, which sometimes being small is better sometimes. The entities know each other, trust each other, and work together. And I think there's also important things to be said, like we still have very cheap and very good beer. We still have very nice wine to have in Portugal. So I think that there are a lot of competitive ways, not just technically, to Algarve to be attractive, for sure.
Can you give examples of some well-known companies that have already chosen to move to the Algarve and work here?
We not only have companies that are grown from the Algarve to the world in several areas. We have companies like Inwas. I believe they are one of the lead market companies in their sector in the world. We have companies like in the aqua, in the blue hub sector, like Sparos, like other companies in the region that are really good and they are very well known internationally. And through this strategy, for example, in the region and in this building that we are right now, in the accelerator, we have companies like the multinational Atos from France or Deloitte that gave an option to the Algarve as a hub for attracting and retaining talent, and they came for a building that it's inside university, where they can develop joint courses with university, and they can develop knowledge from here that can be used for them, but also in the next years for the market, because that's how we understand that spillover effects work. Those people will move their own life, and what we want is to retain talent again. For example, just one best practice that you were mentioning, with Deloitte, there's a program called Bright Star, that it's a program that they developed with the University of Algarve in order to train an additional number of people in specific areas that they find necessary in the market. So they are paying the students, they are paying the university, and they are creating additional human resources available in the market for that. And they are capable of developing and attracting more people, because probably not all of them will come from the region. Of course, we want most of them to come from here, but we also, again, want to attract and retain talent here. So the good thing about this company is that they have the ability to develop these bigger strategies and bigger investments. We don't want to increase and to grow and to accelerate the companies that we have in the region. That will always be our main goal, is to make sure that with all this dynamics, we can create more networks, more connections, more knowledge, so that the companies that we have here more easily can open access markets everywhere in the world. And that's, as a university and as a knowledge transfer unit, that's also our goal, is how can we help companies to open and access markets in Latin America, Asia, Africa.
From which countries do global talents move here in Portugal?
We have a little bit from everywhere, but US, Asia, Turkey, Brazil, of course. So those are countries that are, even for the cultural connections, even for the cultural recognition sometimes, those are the countries that I would say are more significant in our scope. I would say Brazil, because of the language, it's a natural, it's a brother country, so it's natural. I would say US has been growing a lot. Countries in Asia and in Israel and in Turkey are also growing quite a lot, and countries like Dubai and others. Coming back to our first question, our added value is that not only being able to attract and create conditions for these companies to grow, we have some national policies at this moment that are very competitive. We have fiscal programs, we have visas, startup visas, and tech visas that allows companies to be more, I would say, fast in their capacity to attract global talent. So in the end, what we are doing is at a regional level and among all the stakeholders are following the national policy to attract and retain talent. We can speak about about Web Summit and the impact that it has in this. We can speak about the global attraction programs and fiscal programs. We can speak about the policies that are implemented for Portuguese people that went outside to come back to the country. We have to find our niche, because our region is different from the others and we are all competing in a different market, in a global market. But what we need is to identify what our specificities are, where our strengths are, and trying to develop it, because we are acting in accordance, that for us is clear, with the national strategies. And we as a university, the incubator is doing that. So we are accredited in Tech Visa, we are accredited by the European Space Agency. So nobody does anything alone. And in the end, what we want is to use our networks to increase the capacity and the companies in our region, the investors in our region, and to be more competitive and to increase jobs and salaries. I think being very pragmatic in the end, that's what we want.
After visiting the Algarve, I traveled back to Lisbon and popped in to talk to Timur, the founder of World Talents and Move Anywhere. He shared the practical aspects of the Global Talent Program and how to move to live in Portugal, get a residence permit, and eventually get Portuguese citizenship.
Global Talent Portugal is an initiative which we started together with the University of Algarve to attract talented entrepreneurs and VCs from around the world and have them working with the universities and projects in Portugal so that they can act as mentors, angel investors to the local projects and be beneficial, not just in terms of their financial capital, but most importantly with their experience and knowledge.
Who can be considered a global talent and is eligible to move and live in Portugal as a global talent?
Well, our clients have very wide distribution in terms of their professional careers. Most of them are now entrepreneurs. Some of them are executives from tech firms and companies. So our main goal is that we're looking for people who have an understanding of the business growth, of mentorship, of entrepreneurship, and the ones who want to be engaged in the process of working with startups and universities here in Portugal.
As a global talent, can I move and live in Portugal?
Once you have the residency permit, you can stay here whilst your residence permit is valid.
What type of residence permit do I get as a global talent?
I'm not sure I've mentioned, but in the immigration legislation, there is no such thing as a global talent Portugal. I said that's a scope of services. That's an initiative which we started with certain public entities to support the region and attract entrepreneurs. But as a service, it is provided based on the highly qualified activity residence. One might obtain that residence based on different grounds, be that a service agreement, an invitation from the university or public teaching institution, or a working contract.
How long is the HQA visa for global talent valid?
The initial permit is issued for 2 years and it is going to be further extended for 3 years.
What happens after 5 years? Do I need to leave the country?
As the contract we have is for 5 years usually. Well, after 5 years, first there are two ways. First, one might apply for an extension of the residency, or if, and as most of the clients are, they qualify for permanent residency and for citizenship, then they would simultaneously apply for PR and for the citizenship. PR is permanent residency. This is the card which is going to be valid for 5 years, although you need to prove that you speak Portuguese at an elementary level, which is an A2, it's basic.
Can my family move with me to Portugal?
Yeah, of course. So, as a general rule, in any EU country, whenever someone moves, they can bring their family members. So I would specify who can be considered as a family member here in Portugal. These are minors, so all the children below younger than 18. Then children, if they are older than 18, then they have to be studying in Portugal, which is also possible to be arranged. Then spouses or partners, they do not always have to be legally married. They can also be gay partners. And then you can also invite your parents, provided they are older than 65. Or if they are younger than 65, then you'd need to prove that they are financially dependent on the main applicant.
Suppose I have a contract with the university in the Algarve. Do I have to live in the Algarve, or can I reside in Lisbon or Porto?
No, not necessarily at all. The beauty of the contract is that it allows you to be fully remote, no matter whether you're in Portugal or not at all.
Do I have to stay permanently in Portugal, or am I flexible to move around Europe and the world?
The beauty of our program is that one can be very flexible with its physical presence.
Can global talents benefit from the special tax regime in Portugal, resident but not domiciled?
Anyone who has not been a resident in Portugal for the previous 10 years might apply the special tax regime rules here in Portugal. So yes, the answer is yes, you can benefit from the special tax regime, but at the same time, anyone who moves to Portugal can benefit from the special tax regime.
Am I correct? If I move to Portugal as a global talent with my family, can I live here permanently, get a residence permit, and later on get Portuguese citizenship?
Exactly, yeah, that's the case.
So, are you a global talent and do you want to move and live in Portugal? Please write in the comments. And if you need my help to move to Portugal and obtain the Global Talent Visa, feel free to message me on WhatsApp or Telegram. All my contacts are below. And like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you won't miss anything exciting in the future. That's it for today, and I look forward to welcoming you in Portugal.